Howdy everyone, Michael back here with another discussion really, not really a review, but we'll discuss Creepshow. This was released on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. It's had other Blu-ray releases before, mainly over in the UK. I believe 88 Films released a version. This is a new 4K transfer, downgraded to 2K obviously, because it's just a Blu-ray, it's not a 4K. And yeah, so we want to talk a little bit about Creepshow, and we'll talk a little bit about the Blu-ray. So, if you haven't seen Creepshow, Creepshow is a 1982, I believe, 1982 anthology film directed by George Romero, and it is written by Stephen King. It contains 4 stories. The first story is Father's Day, which was written for Creepshow. The next story is The Lonely Death of, what is it? The Lonesome Death of, what was it? Here. I got a little cheat sheet. This bad boy right here, Creepshow. This is the original 1982 comic graphic novel that came out. I got it when I was really young. Let's see here. Okay, so we have Father's Day. There's Father's Day. Right there. And then we have The Lonesome Death of... God, I think I'd remember the names. The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. In the Creepshow movie, Stephen King plays Jordy. It is actually based on a Stephen King short story called Weeds, which was released, I believe, 1976 in Cavalier magazine, May 1976. It has never been actually released in a publication from Stephen King, but it is on, I believe, Dark Screams Volume 1. So if you ever want to read it in written form, you can buy the short story book, Dark Screams Volume 1. The next story after that is The Crate. Ooh, The Crate. The Crate, let's see here. Actually, no, it's not The Crate. Is it? Oh, they got these turned around a little bit, actually. That's kind of interesting. In here, they have the crate coming before Something to Tide You Over. I believe in the movie, from what I can remember, it's Something to Tide You Over, which stars Leslie Nielsen, playing a actually pretty straight role. It's not a comedic role. He's actually a bad guy in the story. And it stars also Ted Danson. I'm going to talk a little bit about each story here in a second. And then after that, we have The Crate, which is a short story by Stephen King. It was first published in July 1979 issue of Gallery. It has also been, just like Weeds, it has not been released in like any sort of Stephen King short story collection, but it has been released in Shivers 6, which was edited by Richard Shizmar, who does Cemetery Dance Productions, something like that. He co-wrote with Stephen King Wendy's Button Box. And then the next one after The Crate is there's something, what is it called? They're Creeping Up on You, which is just another story written for the movie. And then there's also a wraparound which stars Tom Atkins and Joe King, Stephen King's son, who you probably know as Joe Hill because he has his own novels that he writes. Tom Atkins is the father, who's kind of an abusive father. He finds the son reading a Creepshow magazine, gets angry at him, throws it out, and the son's all like, I'm going to get revenge on you. And Tom Atkins, the wife is talking to him, and Tom Atkins is like, I took care of the problem. That's why God made fathers, baby. That's why God made fathers. God, Tom Atkins. Oh, swoon. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Father's Day. Like I said, it's originally written for the movie. It stars Ed Harris. It also stars John Lormer, who was in Twilight Zone. He's been in a few of the Twilight Zones back in the 60s. This is the one that most people will probably understand what I'm saying when I want my cake, and then it's like, I got my cake kind of thing. So he is an abusive. He is a drunk old man who was murdered by his family, by his like daughter or something anyways. And it's on Father's Day. They get together. And then he comes back as this gross, disgusting skeleton monster from the grave. It's a really cool story. I'm not gonna I don't want to ruin. I mean, it's an older movie, but I don't want to ruin anything. Excuse me. The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill is Stephen King, like I said. Meteorite crashes in the back of his house. He's kind of a slightly slow person, and he touches the meteor, and then he starts getting all this like grass growth on him, and he's not supposed to get any water on him, but he takes a bath, and then it just kind of consumes him. That actually is interesting enough. At the end of the story, it shows that it takes place in the Castle Rock area, so it's part of the Castle Rock kind of mythology, like connected universe. So that's kind of cool. And then something to tide you over, like I said, Leslie Nielsen plays a jilted husband who finds out his wife is cheating on him with Ted Danson, and he basically, if you've read or seen the story The Ledge, which is in Cat's Eye, and I believe also Skeleton Crew. I think it's in Skeleton Crew. Or actually, no, it might be Night Shift. I think it's Night Shift. And basically, it's a very similar story. The structure's laid out the same. He kind of Leslie Nielsen kidnaps Ted Danson, puts him on the beach up to his neck in sand, tells him to hold his breath, and he'll survive if he can hold his breath. And then there's the typical kind of like Tales from the Crypt type ending, which I will not spoil, but it's cool. It's cool special effects on it, practical effects. And then after that, there was The Crate, which has to do with Adrienne Barbeau's in it. Hal Holbrook is in it. Adrienne Barbeau is kind of this abusive wife who keeps tormenting and putting down her husband, Hal Holbrook, and it kind of ties into this mysterious crate that's found at the Horlicks University. And in the crate is a monster that is eating people, and he kind of comes up with a scheme to get back at his wife. So that's kind of really a cool one. Interesting enough, the crate in Creepshow has been seen in other kind of movies. It was seen in Jason Goes to Hell, because this is Antarctic expedition sent to Horlicks University via Julia Carpenter, 1834 or something like that. And you also can see it in one of the Walking Dead episodes. So it's kind of cool little nod. So that one's neat. And the final story, They're Creeping Up on You, has to do, that one stars with E.G. Marshall as Upson Pratt. And he lives in a high-rise apartment. He's a germophobic, and he keeps seeing cockroaches everywhere, and they keep kind of coming. It's during a stormy night. And then the power comes off, and then all these cockroaches come out. It's a really cool ending. What's neat about that story is, save for the ending, you're kind of wondering if everything's in his head, if the cockroaches are real or not. So they kind of hint at a few things that maybe they aren't real, that he's just this insane old man, this rich old man that doesn't mind basically bankrupting this guy to the point of where he commits suicide and just laughs at the guy's wife when he's talking to her on the phone. So that's kind of cool, but the ending I think it kind of point blank tells you that no, this isn't all in his head, but I'm not going to ruin it. And then there's a wraparound story with Tom Atkins where it ends with a cameo from Tom Savini and some cool voodoo doll type stuff. So Creepshow, like I said, it's directed by George Romero. It has a really cool comic book style look to it. There's greens and reds, and there's panels. They do panels. They do the cuts and shifts and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's a really well done film. It's really cool looking. It's 120 minutes, but it flies by just like that. You watch it, 2 hours fly right by. More often than not, I can't stand 2-hour films, but this just flies right by. It's a really good, super fun film. Don't know why anyone would not like it. It's Creepshow, right? So, we now understand that I like the movie, so let's talk a little bit about Scream Factory Blu-ray. Comes in a nice cardboard case, little sleeve. It's empty right now because I took the contents out. So, this is the cardboard sleeve. Comes with a really cool booklet with the new artwork on it. It has an essay written by Michael Gingold. It's pretty long. It's actually a pretty thick book. Here, let me put some stuff down. Ooh. It's all colored photos behind the scenes. Talks about other films that kind of had inspirations. Of course, it has the original Tales from the Crypt poster, because, you know, most of that is originated from that. All those cool EC Comics. And then we got the Blu-ray. Here's the Blu-ray, which has this cover on one side. It's the one with the ticket. The most fun you'll ever have being scared. And it comes with one disc. And then it has the reverse sleeve with the comic book style, which is the same as the graphic novel that I just showed you. Yeah, so that's it. So, I want to read you a little bit about what it says about the transfer in the booklet. I watched it. I thought it looked amazing. I thought the movie looked amazing. Really well done transfer. But let's read a little bit here of the transfer. This new 2018 high-definition transfer was created in 4K restoration at Warner Brothers Motion Picture Imaging on the Laser Graphics Director Scanner from the original camera negative. It was supervised and approved by Director of Photography Michael Gornick, colorist Steve Pierre, Photochem Restoration, Dupletech, special thanks George Felstenstein, Brandon Hansel, Steve Anastasi, Mike Ewers, and Francis Bazzi, Warner Brothers. So, really, all the colors pop in it. It is a really nice looking transfer. I'm going to say it's probably the best Creepshow has ever looked since coming out in theaters. I will stake my professional career on it that I think it looks the best. Professional career. It also, this is where we get into a little bit of the issues with the release. Because it comes with a 5.1 DTS HD Master Audio, and it comes with also a 2.0 stereo DTS HD Master Audio. There has been complaints about the 5.1. The 5.1 has been pitched too high or something. The dialogue is really low. It definitely has some issues. I switched from the 2.0 stereo to the 5.1 just to see, and I could barely hear the dialogue. So I switched it back to the 2.0 stereo because I was watching it on just a soundbar. I was upstairs again because the wife was playing PS4 and I'm not allowed to be down there watching horror movies. Anyways, the 2.0 stereo to me sounds amazing. That's how it originally was released in theaters. I have no issue with it. However, if you're one of those people that really wants surround sound, you're going to have an issue with the 5.1 surround sound. I mean, you can turn your audio up and, you know, you won't have too much of a problem. But there's purists out there that are going to be like, recall! I need a recall because I want my 5.1. But hey, understandable, you spent a lot of money on it. You want it to be perfect, right? So I'll leave it up to Scream. I'll leave it up to you to decide whatever the hell's going to be done. Personally, I thought it sounded great in 2.0 stereo. So, special features. We have a new audio commentary with Michael Gornick. We have a new Terror in the Three Rivers, a roundtable discussion with members of the cast and crew of Creepshow. It has Tom Savini, has, I believe, Michael Gornick. It has the guy that plays the Father's Day skeleton. It has Tom Atkins, and it is narrated by, what's his name? Michael Fletcher, maybe? I don't know. I can't remember who it was narrated by. I'm sorry, dude. I do have to say Tom Savini seems to be his normal jerk self. Hey, you know what? You earned it, buddy. You've done a great career. So, you know, be a dick. We have new The Comic Book Look, which is an interview with costume designer Barbara Anderson. We have new The Colors of Creepshow, a look at the restoration of Creepshow with Michael Gornick. We have an older commentary, of course, with director George Romero and special makeup effects creator Tom Savini. We have auto interviews with Michael Gornick, actor John Amplis, property master Bruce and Alan Miller, and makeup effects assistant Daryl Ferrucci. Tom Savini's behind-the-scenes footage, which was really cool. It's like 25 minutes behind-the-scenes footage. Horrors, Hallowed Grounds. Look at the original locations today. Deleted scenes, trailers, TV spots, radio spots, galleries, and more. The more being, I don't remember too much more. That seems to be most of what the new stuff is. They pretty much mentioned all the new stuff. And it is quite a bit of new stuff. Like, you do have quite a bit of new interviews with people. And there's a lot of information, stuff that you're going to get to hear about it. I mean, it's disappointing that Stephen King wasn't included. I assume they probably tried, but hey, he probably didn't want to. It's a shame that, unfortunately, rest in peace, George Romero. He would have loved probably to talk about it. But hey, at least we get the old commentary. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's Creepshow. That's Creepshow, released on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. Amazing release. I know Scream Factory has been having tons of issues with shipping. They have a new distributor, and they suck donkey nuts. Even reviewers like me, we have been either missing out on releases, we've been getting delayed releases. A lot of times we don't get a release until it's already come out. So, you know, it's hurting everyone, but it's also really hurting Scream Factory. I know they are trying their best, but, you know, like, they need to really figure out these shipping problems. They need to really figure out this distribution issue, because it is killing them. It's killing them. And they also need to really figure out their prices, because they are getting exorbitantly huge. People are thinking they're just going to collapse here eventually, which, you know, would suck if they do. I don't think they're going to, but they really should look at their prices. Yeah, so, and excuse me, my nose is itchy. Someone's thinking about me. And I know that people have been getting the release with the lithograph and the posters, and they've been all ripped up and crinkled. I think they're working on that. I think they're hoping that's going to be resolved. If you're one of those people, maybe get in contact with Scream, see if they can do something. I don't know if they can, but hey, you never know. So, Scream Factory, Creepshow release, really cool. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of moving stuff back and forth. Yeah, so I definitely recommend picking it up. It's going to be a little expensive probably, but if you don't own it, and hell, even if you do own a past release, there's a lot of new stuff on this, and it looks amazing. I think you should pick it up. So that is my wonderful discussion about Creepshow on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. I hope you enjoyed this rambling nonsense. And yeah, I think I'm going to get back to reading my cool Creepshow graphic novel. I really wish they would have included the advertisements that are in the movie. I definitely would like some X-ray goggles. Would be naughty. Anyways. That's what I call twist ending. Because the head.